Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining us today. First of all, I would like to give a huge applause to the organizer of this conference because putting together this kind of conference is not an easy task. Months and months of work goes into it. So really appreciate, for the organizers to organizing this and also giving me the opportunity to speak. So I will be talking about how we can create custom copilots using Copilot Studio. And I am from Washington, D.C. area of United States, and I'm Microsoft MVP since 2017. And my current categories are AI and business applications. And as far as my day-to-day job is concerned, I work as an AI architect at Applied Information Sciences. So AIS has been providing services in Microsoft ecosystem from last 40 years. And we have been recipient of Microsoft Partner of the Year award on multiple occasions. And recently, we also launched a Gen AI based a Copilot. That Copilot is for proposal writing. So if you are writing proposals, definitely take a look at pwin.ai because that will definitely make you 5 times efficient. And also, it can help you to reduce almost 80% of the time to come up with the first draft. We have some well-known companies as our customers, such as Microsoft Proposal Center of Excellence and some other companies. So definitely check us, look at pwin.ai. And we also have a lot of open position in USA. So if you or anyone in your network is looking for a change, just check us out on ais.com/careers and apply there directly, or you can always reach out to me as well. All right, so what are we going to talk today? We'll start with why copilots, like what are some of the things we get with copilots and why copilots are getting extremely popular these days. What are some of the different out-of-the-box copilots are available in Microsoft ecosystem? Before we go into the Copilot Studio, I want to touch base about some of the Azure AI services out there because to add some additional settings or to add some additional functionality, you need to be aware of what are some of the Azure AI services are out there that you can use with your custom Copilot. We also talk about Azure OpenAI service, and the majority of the time we'll be spending is talking about Copilot Studio. And those of you who are not aware, it's a rebranded product. Its earlier name was Power Virtual Agent. However, last year, Microsoft launched this product as a Copilot Studio. It has the same goodness of Power Virtual Agents, but along with that, they also added a lot of more functionality to it. I will have lots of demos, key takeaways, and Q&A. Even though I mentioned Q&A towards the end, feel free to ask your questions at any time. You can post your questions in the chat window, and if you can just raise your hands as well. So I always have this slide, no matter which technology or topic I'm covering. It doesn't matter what tool or technology you're using. What really matters is what kind of problem you're trying to solve. So if you're creating a custom Copilot, your customer or your user will not care whether you're using Copilot Studio or Azure AI Studio or some other platform. What they care is, okay, what this Copilot is, where this Copilot is helping me, and is it really useful for me or not? So your energy or your focus should always on the solving of the problem and not so much on the technology or the tool that you're using. So one particular statement I like or which caught my eye during last year's Ignite conference, and Ignite is a Microsoft flagship conference. Every year, they organize somewhere in October to November timeframe. This year is also in November in Chicago, Illinois, USA. And during that conference, Microsoft CEO during the keynote kind of give us an indication or hint where Microsoft is going in terms of their investment and their product roadmap. So during last year's Ignite keynote, Satya said that Microsoft now is the Copilot company. What does that mean is Microsoft as a company is going to invest a lot in launching a lot of out-of-the-box Copilot, such as Microsoft 65 Copilot or Power Platform Copilot. But along with that, they also create or do invention in terms of creating tools and technologies so that we can also create custom copilots as well. And this is going to be their main focus for at least next 2 to 3 years. So what is a copilot? So Copilot is an experience using generative AI to assist humans with complex cognitive tasks. You be using, let's say, ChatGPT. ChatGPT is one sort of Copilot. You may have used Microsoft Copilot, or you may have used GitHub Copilot, or you may have used Power Platform Copilot or Microsoft 65 Copilot. And there are Copilots across major products and services out there. And in the current state, we converse with the Copilot using natural language and sometimes with code. And the real goal of having a Copilot is basically to increase your productivity or to help you do your job really quickly or find something really quickly. And why one of the reasons Copilots are getting extremely popular is because they provide more natural human computer interaction, and it also helps you to automate a lot of repetitive tasks and free up the resources. Copilots can be available all the time, and also it can be available where you are, depending on what kind of device and what kind of Copilot you are using. However, the key reason why Copilots are getting extremely popular because it helps you to automate repetitive tasks and free up the resources. Copilots can also adapt to the user depending on the circumstances. In case you have used the right AI technology behind the scene, Copilots can be highly adaptable as well. And think of Copilots as another way of providing support or assistance. Like let's say if you are if you are in charge of a help desk, or if you are in charge of, let's say, an HR department, or if you are in charge of a customer service department, think of like Copilot as another way of providing support and assistance. And if you use some of the tools available in Microsoft Stack, you create your Copilot once, like a custom Copilot once, and that Copilot can be accessible on various devices or various programs. And another trend which is saying in the industry is the users are expecting the consumerization of the enterprise. What does that mean is, if I'm getting really familiar with using ChatGPT in my personal life, sooner or later, I will expect a similar kind of experience at my work as well. And that's where, Copilot Studio shines. So this is the code I got from Microsoft. So best programming language is the natural language. And Microsoft is started investing, or they launched the Copilot even before the rise of ChatGPT. Like Microsoft launched GitHub Copilot way before the ChatGPT got popular. And last year they did a survey, and they found that 40% of the code in GitHub is actually assisted by GitHub Copilot. And now Copilots are pretty much coming everywhere. These are some of the popular Copilots are listed. Some of the Copilots are going to be free, such as Power Platform Copilot. Some of the Copilots are going to be, you have to purchase additional license, such as GitHub Copilot or Microsoft 365 Copilot. And this is just a list of some of the popular Copilots. There are many, many Copilots out of the box available in Microsoft ecosystem. So when you have to create a custom Copilot, you of course need a tool like a Copilot Studio or Azure AI Studio. But before we go into the tools, it is important to understand what are some of the AI services out there, especially in the Microsoft stack, that you should be aware so you can use that in creating custom Copilots. So the core AI services in Microsoft ecosystem are part of Azure AI, and Azure AI are also the first party services. So if you would like to bring any open source machine learning model, or if you had to write your own machine learning model, then the product you use is called Azure Machine Learning. Under customizable AI models or Azure AI services, we have service for vision, speech, language, decision, and recently they added Azure OpenAI service. And on the top of it, we have a scenario-based service, where a scenario-based service is built using a combination of one or two Azure AI services, such as Azure AI Search or Document Intelligence Service. So as I mentioned, Azure AI services are first-party services. That means not only we can use it as a customer, but within Microsoft, other product groups are also using the same products or services. For example, Copilot Studio or AI Builder in Power Platform, Microsoft 365 Copilot behind the scene, they all use the same Azure AI services that we have access to. So in this particular session, we'll be focusing more on Copilot Studio and Azure AI Service. However, some other two services are getting extremely popular in Azure, such as Azure AI Search, because it has support for vector database, and Document Intelligence Service, which basically help you to extract the content from your document. And the content can be in any format. It can be like scan images, tables, or free format text. This service is good to extract the content, and there are a lot of out of the box templates available. In fact, if you are familiar with AI Builder, AI Builder is actually built on the top of Document Intelligence Service and some of the Azure AI services. So the concept is similar. You provide your document to the service, and depending on what kind of data you would like to extract, the service will give you with some accuracy over there. So Azure OpenAI service are actually, what Microsoft has done is they have a partnership with a company called OpenAI, and OpenAI is the creator of large language models that are behind the ChatGPT. So as part of this partnership, all the large language models that are there from OpenAI are also available to us as part of the Azure. And since they are part of the Azure, it brings additional functionality or feature that Azure has, such as you can use managed entity, you can have private endpoints, you can do easy integration with other Azure services, and we can also use this with Power Platform services as well. So most of you already know about Power Platform. Power Platform is Microsoft low-code, no-code platform, and there are 5 main services. And one of the service called Copilot Studio is the one we'll be talking about today. One other thing I mentioned I would like to highlight is if you are not familiar with Microsoft Power Platform and just interested in Copilot Studio, since Copilot Studio is part of Microsoft Power Platform, when you create a Copilot, its definition, its permission, everything gets stored into an underlying Microsoft Dataverse environment that you're using. In case you would like to inject any custom code, there is a support for PowerFX. PowerFX is a low-code language available in Power Platform, and its formula is very much like an Excel formula. So if you have used Excel before, the formulas that we use in PowerFX are quite similar. If you have created a Canvas app before, Canvas app expression basically use the PowerFX formulas over there. So everyone is welcome to the Power Platform. You can be a low-code, no-code developer, or you can be a professional developer as well. So what exactly Copilot Studio brings onto the table? So Copilot Studio basically is an end-to-end conversational AI product, which we can build, which we can use to build custom copilots. And we can also use it to enhance the functionality of out-of-the-box Copilot as well. So it can be used for both the scenarios. And as I mentioned, we can create custom copilots, and behind the scene, it's using all the goodness that is available in Azure, such as bot framework, Azure AI services. Behind the scenes, also use some of the Power Platform connectors as well. And along with creating custom copilots, we can also extend the functionality of out-of-the-box Copilot as well. So when it comes to creating custom copilots in Microsoft ecosystem, we have 3 options. Okay, let's say you have access to Microsoft 365 Copilot. Then you can customize those copilots, the functionality of those copilots using Copilot Studio. Till yesterday, it used to call Copilot extension, but now they call it as a Copilot agent. So you can create a Copilot agent if you have access to Microsoft 365 Copilot using Copilot Studio. You can also create standalone Copilots as well, which is very popular. And it can, everything is available to as a managed SaaS service. So there is no infrastructure, and it has a built-in security and governance place inbuilt. And also using Copilot Studio, we can build conversational orchestration. And recently, like Microsoft announced that using Copilot Studio, we can also create agents. However, agents are currently under private preview. Another option we have to create custom Copilot is using Azure AI Studio, where it's a studio available as part of your Azure subscription. And the target audience for Azure AI Studio is the professional developers, because you need to know the various services in Azure, and you have a full flexibility in terms of creating your custom Copilots, like which large language model to use. You don't have to necessarily stick with the large language models from OpenAI. In case you would like to use open source large language models, or large language models from other vendor, you can do that using Azure AI Studio, because in Azure AI Studio, Microsoft has something called model as a service, where you can bring your own model, or you can also use an open source model as well. And you have full control over the underlying infrastructure. You have full control over which programming language you would like to use, what kind of authentication you would like to use, and if you would like to integrate with any deep database of your choice. So all the flexibility available to you when it comes to the Azure AI Studio. Whereas Copilot Studio is a SaaS product. So one of the major difference you will see is with Copilot Studio, since it's a SaaS product, you can have your custom Copilot up and running within a few minutes or few hours. Whereas in case of Azure AI Studio, you'll have to spend a lot of time upfront to configure various services that you need to create a custom Copilot. What are some of the use cases we can use or build using Copilot Studio right now? So you can have a B2C Like you can use it for customer support. You can use it for providing support for your products and services. You can also build business to business, where you can have a Copilot for supplier interaction, lead qualification. You can also have a business to enterprise where you can create custom Copilots for human resources, IT departments, expense management. So the two most common use cases I have seen is B2C and B2E. That's where like most of the implementation I have seen, or most of my customers have implemented Copilot Studio to launch custom Copilots. Before we jump into ins and outs of Copilot Studio, one thing I would like to highlight, and there is a lot of confusion about that, is Copilot Studio is not a free product. Okay, it is a part of our platform, and its entire licensing is based on consumption. So if you are using, if you already have a license for Microsoft 65 Copilot, and if you are enhancing the functionality of out-of-the-box Microsoft Copilot using Copilot Studio, then you don't have to purchase additional subscription. However, if you are launching a standalone Copilot, or if you are launching a Copilot on different experiences, then you have to purchase this license separately. The first thing you need to do is you need to purchase a $200 capacity per tenant, and that's the price per month. Okay. Right now, you may be able to sign up using the trial account, but that's the minimum purchase you have to make. Again, $200 per tenant per month gives you 25,000 messages per month. Okay. And what if I exhaust 25,000 messages? Then you just have to keep purchasing more and more add-ons. And Microsoft right now is gracious enough, like in case you purchase 2 packs, and that means you have 50,000 messages, but within 20 days, you already exhaust those. And in the rest of the 10 days of the month, you exhaust, let's say, 10,000 more. Microsoft will let you use that as long as you pay for that additional overage the next month. With that capacity, you get 50 GB of database capacity, 20 GB of file capacity, and 20 GB log capacity as well. And in case you are using generative AI features in it, let's say I'm using generative AI feature in Copilot Studio, and one message is generated from that. So instead of counting one message, it will count as 2 messages. So that's how Microsoft has simplified its pricing on Copilot Studio. All right. So what are some of the features, or what are some of the advantages Copilot Studio brings onto the table? As I mentioned, it's an end-to-end conversational platform. We can use Copilot Studio for dialogue management. So if you think of any Copilot or custom Copilot, the main goal of that Copilot is to understand what the user is trying to convey, and also take that into account, and also provide meaningful output to the user. So you can do that in Copilot Studio using dialogue management. So you have your stage one where you can, using a unified authoring canvas, you can create topics. Those topics you can create right from beginning, like you can create right as a blank topic and then add customizations to it. Or you can also use a Copilot inside Copilot Studio to create that as well. The next step then will be is to generate the responses, and there you can use some of the generative answers. For that, it's totally optional to you. Like in case you don't want to use generative AI, that's totally fine. That means that everything that you do, entire business logic should be handled at the topic level, and you have to like add each, like you had to basically add support for each and every scenario that you want the Copilot to support. And the third is the escalation. Let's say the Copilot is not able to handle some of the situation, then how you can do escalation. So for escalation, you can use Dynamics Omnichannel, or you can also use some of the popular live agent handoff as well. So when it comes to creating a custom Copilot using Copilot Studio, these are the 4 major things you'll be doing. First is to create a Copilot, then you design the conversation. Then once your Copilot is available, then you can publish to different channels. Then once your Copilot is live, then you can monitor it, make constant improvements, and add some additional changes to it depending on the scenarios. So creation of Copilot is very easy. You just have to go to copilotstudio.microsoft.com. Since it's a SaaS product, everything is drag and drop, and you can have a custom Copilot up and running within a few minutes. There are some templates available. You can also add some knowledge sources. And when it comes to adding knowledge sources, various options are available. And we can also use some of 1,000+ connectors that are already there in Power Platform ecosystem as well. We can create and customize the topics. We can go and publish and go live instantly. And also we can monitor the logs. So there's a good insights and logging is available that you can use to track how your Copilot is performing, whether the users who are using this Copilot are happy with the Copilot or not, or anything that you need to tweak or make a change. Without further ado, now let me quickly just give you a quick overview of the architecture, and then we'll start diving into creating a custom Copilot. So as I mentioned, Copilot Studio is a part of Power Platform. So whenever you create a custom Copilot, it basically gets created in the underlying Dataverse environment. And for the permissions, it's used Microsoft Entra ID or Azure Active Directory. Behind the scene, it's using Azure Bot Service. For some of the GenAI features, it uses Azure OpenAI and Azure AI Search. It also has its own inbuilt natural language understanding. And you can also use your own custom NLU as well. And these are some of the popular channels that are available where you can publish, you build your Copilot once, and then you can publish that Copilot to them. Some of the key terms that you need to be aware when it comes to creating custom Copilots. One is the topics. So it basically represents conversational flow roadmap based on the different needs. The entities is basically used to translate data supplied in the text and extract it something that can be easily consumed in your Copilot or bot. Then you have nodes that basically help you to tie your business logic. You have option of variable synonyms, and you can also have triggers for your topics as well. So there are a lot of out-of-the-box entities available, such as entities for date and time, entities for email address, entities for currency. However, you can also create custom entities as well. So in case you would like to increase the understanding of any domain-specific knowledge for your custom Copilot, you can build custom entities as well. So that comes to an interesting point is when it comes to building the conversational dialogues, what is the difference between intent and entities, right? For example, if you ask me, intent is basically what the user is intended to do. So I'm going to give you, and the entities is actually any additional information the user is providing in response to that intent. For example, if I say I would like to order a large cheese pizza, the intent here is the shopping. Like user would like to order something, and entities is what exactly the user would like to order is they would like to order a cheese pizza. Okay, and its size is large and its type is cheese pizza. So this is how you can think about when it comes to building your conversational experience or conversational dialogues. So before we go into the topic design, let me quickly go and start creating a custom Copilot. So for that, first thing you should do is you need to log in using copilotstudio.microsoft.com. And then once you go there, if you don't have access to it, you can sign up for trial. But just like any other Power Platform service, the user who's using this also need a license for Copilot Studio. So in case you don't have license, you can always talk to your tenant admin, and the tenant admin can assign you the license. So if I click here and click on new Copilot, you'll see here. Let me just refresh this. And resize this a bit so that the subtitles are also visible. Okay, so if I click on a new Copilot, so here I have an option. I can describe what kind of Copilot I would like to create. So this is like a Copilot for Copilot Studio. Or if I am already know what I'm doing, I can always click here and go to script to configure. So here I would like to give a name. Let's call it as Metaverse 1. 2024. Okay, here I can change the icon and I can provide the description, and I can also provide the instruction. So those of you who have used Azure OpenAI service, or those of you who have used some of the large language models from OpenAI, there you have an option of system message and user message, where in system message you can specify give some direct messages, a direct instruction to the large language model, so that large language model follow those rules and then always give you output based on that. Similar concept is available here. So in case you have enabled Gen AI for your custom copilot, this instruction will basically the same one where you can give some direction to your copilot. So I'm going to skip that right now and just click create. Since it's a SaaS product, it's going to take like 30 to 60 seconds to get it created. And in the meantime, I see there is one particular question when it comes to publishing the Copilot created Copilot Studio. Is the specific interface like Teams or browser to publish? Okay. Yes, I will just quickly show you that. What are the ways you can publish that? One quick tip I would like to give you, especially when you're building custom Copilot, is in case you would like to preserve more real estate, you can always click on this pin here, and that will give you more real estate. And if you would like to see the list of Copilot, you can always click on it and that list will appear. Another thing is in the left section, you'll see there is this test your Copilot UI. You can always click on this so that you get more real estate. And if you would like to have it back, you can always click on this test icon here. Now here, so far, we just created a Copilot. It's basically a blank Copilot, nothing else is there. And if I go into the topics here, you'll see that there are some out-of-the-box topics already got added here, like the goodbye, greetings, start over, thank you. And some of the lessons are there. In case you are new, highly recommend you to go through these lessons. In case you are already familiar with Copilot Studio, you can always go here and disable those. So there are two types of topics you'll see, custom and then system. So what is the difference between system and custom? So custom topics, you can always you can delete those. When it comes to system topic, you cannot really delete those, but you can disable those. And there are some out-of-the-box topics are there, like for example, conversation start, conversational boosting, which uses generative AI features behind the scene. And then you have topics already built for escalation, fallback, and on error. And when it comes to creating custom topics, you can start from a blank, or you can also create a description with Copilot as well. Now let me show you the channels. So as I mentioned, you create your Copilot once and you can deploy that to various supported channels. So these many channels are currently supported out of the box. Like you can deploy as a telephony, Microsoft Teams, a demo website or a custom website, mobile app, Facebook, Skype, direct line space, GroupMe, Line, Twilio, Telegram, and Slack. And you can also deploy this to connect to the other customer engagement hub. Now you will see that some of the channels are currently grayed out, like only two are available are telephony and Microsoft Teams. The reason is depending on what kind of authentication you have selected, some of the other channels will be available. For example, if I go to the settings here, and if I go to the security, and if I click on the authentication, by default, when you create a custom Copilot, this is going to be by default authenticate with Microsoft and Entra ID authentication in Teams and Power App. That's why only Teams channel is available. But you have two options. If you go with no authentication, that means the Copilot is the user doesn't have to be authenticated to interact with Copilot. Then lot other channels will be available except Microsoft Teams. Okay, because to access via Teams or Power App, the user has to be authenticated. In case you would like to add support where some of the features should be available manually, like after authentication, and some should be available with no authentication, you can always select this, like authenticate manually, and then you can have require user to sign in or not. And then these are some of the major authentication provider the Copilot Studio support. Like you all can always go with Azure Active Directory, Azure Active Directory V2, Azure Active Directory V2 with certificates, or you can also use generic OAuth2 provider as well. Okay, I'm just going to go with that. And then in case you are not satisfied with some of the NLU that is there, like natural language understanding with the Copilot, out of the box Copilot Studio natural language understanding, you can always, bring your own as well. Like for example, you can go to Azure AI service or the language service, create, like customize your NLU there and bring that here as well. Languages, You can add, support for various languages. Like for example, if I go here, this many languages are available right now that you can add out of the box. And when it comes to these are the entities that you'll see out of the box, and you can also create a new entity as well. When it comes to generative AI capability, so here when you create your Copilot for the first time, it should have used the classic. Like this should be the checkbox that is selected, but you can also go to generative as well, where it will use generative AI to respond with best combination of action, topics, and knowledge. And you can also you can configure like how strict your content moderation will be. Okay, now if I come back out here and if I go to the analytics, this is where you will be seeing the entire interaction your Copilot had with the users. So there you will be seeing the custom satisfaction, how many session you had, the billing information, and the session that you had with a boost conversation with generative AI as well. In the action, you can create your first action, and it is currently under preview. And one of the most popular thing is adding a knowledge to your existing Copilot. So the Copilot we created, what I want to do is I want to quickly add the knowledge to this Copilot. And when it comes to adding a knowledge, if you see here, these are the various options. So some of those are listed as a featured option, such as public website, files, SharePoint, OneDrive, Dataverse, and Microsoft Fabric, which is coming soon. But you can also connect to your enterprise data as well. And there are lots and lots of other, options available to you. So to begin with, what I want to do is I will go with the public facing website. And here, what I want to do is I just want to go to the Metaverse website and see if we can create a custom Copilot for the Metaverse public Metaverse conference. Okay, I'm just going to click add, and just once I did add here, okay, its status is ready. So what I want to do is I just want to start testing this. So let's go here and let's test it. So the question I will be asking is, can you let me know how to register for Metaverse 1? Okay. And if everything is working behind the scene properly, we should be able to see the answer right away within few seconds. All right. So looks like, okay, so looks like this site, there are no good answers over here. So what I will do is, and most likely this site is not properly indexed by the Bing search. That may be the reason why some of the information is not coming. So to showcase that, what I will do is I will just use another website, which is the Microsoft Learn. And instead of using this, I will be just using that for my generative AI answers. Okay, add knowledge, public website, add the link, click add. All right, reset this. And I'm just going to ask what is Copilot Studio. If everything is working behind the scene, I should be able to get the answer. And that answer should come from the URL that I have specified in my knowledge source. Okay, so here the answer came. And if I go back, the answer is pointing to the Microsoft Learn documentation. Now you may be wondering how this Copilot Studio can get this answer so fast. Like within few seconds, we just added the website, and within few seconds, we had the answers from that website. The reason is behind the scene, when I add a public facing website as my data source or knowledge source, it is making a call to the Bing search index and asking Bing search, give me the answer to this particular question, and give me the answer from only this URL. And whatever the answer is coming up, it's going through some post processing of prompts, and then that answer is getting showed to the user. So before I show you other knowledge sources, let me cover a few slides. Before you start talking about adding the generative AI, it's really, really important to understand the basic concept of topics. So you can have topics for various things. And if you're coming from a custom development background, you can think about topics as your functions. Where each topic is there to do certain things, and for that function, for that topic to get triggered, you can have some trigger phrases, or you can also have topic where there are no trigger phrases, but that topic is getting called from another topic. What does that mean is if I go inside the topics here and let me create a topic from blank. Now here, if I click on add a node, so these are the different things I can do inside a topic. I can send a message, I can ask a question to the user, I can ask with the adaptive card, I can add a condition, I can do variable management, and I can do the topic management where I can transfer to another topic. Or I can, end the conversation. When it comes to the call to an action, I can create a prompt using AI Builder. I can create a flow and can call that flow. I can also call a skill and when it comes to the advanced, I can use a generative AI answer action. I can make a direct HTTP call directly from this topic. And I can also, log a custom telemetry event or send an event, or I can also launch a action to authenticate the user. So this comes handy when you want to add a support for your Copilot, where initially the user is interacting with your custom Copilot as a non-authenticated user or as a public user. However, before you show some sensitive information, you would like to authenticate the user, then you can add that inside your topic. So you can have topics for various things, and there are various techniques you can use to build your topics. So as I mentioned, out of the box, Copilot Studio comes with a standard natural language understanding. But let's say if you're not satisfied with that, you have some complex scenarios where your out of the box NLU is not supporting, you can always create custom Azure CLU model as well. Some of the restriction with that, it still has a single intent recognition per query. And the configuration is done in Azure and involves additional costs. So you have to basically subscribe to the service and you'll be paying for that service. You can also use generative AI orchestration for your NLU. However, this is going to be the most expensive because it will have higher burn rate. And currently it is under a preview. And when it comes to the integration, like what if I had to interact with other services outside of my custom Copilot? You can do that using, you can either call a Power Automate Cloudflow directly from your Copilot, custom Copilot, or you can make a web service call using HTTP connector, or you can call a bot framework scale. So what are some of the plus and minus? So Power Automate, since there are like more than 1,000 plus connectors are available, you can integrate your custom copilots with any platform or service that has a connector with it. However, some of the limitations or some of the things that you have to consider is latency. Another thing is when you called a Power Automate Cloudflow from your Copilot Studio, it has to return back within 100 seconds. When it comes to calling an API directly using HTTP connector, the limitation is you need to get result within 100 seconds. You can also call bot framework skills, but to do that, you need to use a custom code. And that runs in Azure Azure AI bot service. That's an additional service that you have to spin up in Azure, and you have to pay for it. And the ALM it will have is different as compared to your ALM with Copilot Studio. As I mentioned, Copilot Studio is part of Power Platform. So for the ALM, you'll be using the same solution import export and automated pipeline that you typically do in Power Platform. This one for bot framework skills, you have to use ALM on the Azure side. In Power Platform, there are more than 1,000 plus connector available, and you can build your custom connector as well. So when it comes to the knowledge sources, there are various knowledge sources we can add. But before you start exploring each and every one, let's see how exactly it works behind the scene. So when you request something and you're using that, and to request that information, you are using the knowledge sources and generative AI. It does some query rewriting behind the scene, like whatever message I'm typing or entered for the Copilot behind the scene, the Copilot engine will do some rewriting. and it's going to use the last 10 conversation exchange I have with the custom copilot and use that for the query rewriting. And let's say when it comes to the content retrieval, depending on which data source I'm using or knowledge data source I'm using for knowledge, it will retrieve only top 3 results per source. For example, if I'm using SharePoint Online, then only top 3 results from SharePoint Online will come, it will take and then use that to give you the answer. And these are some of the different options available: public data, SharePoint Online. One of the advantage of going with SharePoint Online is you can use security trimming of the results. You can also use Azure OpenAI on your own data. You can upload directly the files. You can use Dataverse, Graph Connector, and you can use the custom data as well. And behind the scene, Microsoft is doing a lot of validation when the information is coming from. It is removing any uncompliant content. It also removing any harmful content. It also removing any copyrighted answers. It's also doing grounding. So a lot of stuff happens behind the scene before the answer get showed to you. Now, if you're using Azure OpenAI on your own data, all these steps that are listed here, you have to do that yourself. Because those stuff will be handled in your Azure OpenAI service, and you have to use some other services to implement the similar guardrails over there. So before we show some of the limitations over there, so if I go to the knowledge here, we are at the public website, but these are some of the other options available. Dataverse is good. In Dataverse, what happens is it basically uses whatever the user is providing, they convert into that natural language query, it convert into the SQL queries, and then those SQL queries get executed against the Dataverse table. When it comes to when you upload files directly to the Copilot, it uses underlying Dataverse search for data retrieval. When you upload those files into the SharePoint Online, it uses behind the scenes the SharePoint index to retrieve those files. So I see a question: when we use action, that is list issue in Jira, I need to authenticate to add action during the bot building, but when the user will be using my PBA, will they re-authenticate with their credential to Jira, or will the bot use the current authentication? Okay, so it all depends on your implementation. In case you would like your user to authenticate and pass that authentication token to your Jira, you can do that. And for that, the approach that I will be using is I will go to my topic here. And let's say I go to a custom topic. And here, before I call to Jira, I will basically add this action to authenticate the user first, and whatever then the user token is, then I will be passing that. In case there is no way to get that user token and pass that to the service, I can also handle that at the connector level as well. So there are various ways you can do that passing of the authentication to the service that you're using. One more option I would like to show you is, I know we are coming close to the time, is how I can use Azure OpenAI on your own data. So here what I have done is I'm inside the Azure OpenAI Studio, and here I have already created an index using the Azure AI search. And in that index, I have added the schedule of this particular conference. And once that schedule I have indexed via Azure AI search, I can use the Azure OpenAI service to query some information. So can you list sessions on Copilot Studio? And right now, to get to provide the answer to this, what it's exactly doing is it's actually going to the schedule file, and it is pulling all the information that is there. And when you configure this, and if you click on this deploy to, you will see here whatever configuration I have done in the Azure OpenAI Studio, I can deploy that as a web app. That means whatever middle screen you are seeing, I can have the same chat experience as a web app. I can deploy that as a Teams app, but I can also deploy that as a new Copilot in Copilot Studio as well. So if I click on here, it will launch that. And behind the scene, it will create a new Copilot. And that custom Copilot will already have all those services currently integrated. Let's see, I'm using this environment. and then it's going to ask me for the environment, the name of the Copilot. So let's call it as a Meta verse 1 2014 Azure OpenAI, and then click create. And we have 5 minutes left, and this will, while it's getting created, let me quickly cover a few slides. So some of the recommended consideration you have to do is, so the large language model that Copilot Studio is using are the foundational model that are trained by OpenAI. And right now, for most of the generative AI answers, Copilot Studio team is using GPT 3.5 Turbo. They are working to add support to the latest generation of models as well. And these are some of the things that you need to consider when it comes to data security and compliance, in case you are interested in using generative AI inside your Copilot Studio. Now, in case you have to create extension for your custom Copilot, so these are some of the options available. You can use the graph connectors. You can use plugins, which are rebranded as the agents. You can use declarative agents, and you can also create custom, custom agents as well. However, depending on which route you take, there are some various things that you have to configure, or some of the things that will come out of the box for you, or some of the things that you may have to additionally do that yourself. Now, in case I don't want to use Copilot Studio, so these are some of the options. These are the steps that I have to implement in case I would like to have a similar chat experience. These are some of the steps that you had to follow in case you had to, create this from scratch. So you had to have an LLM provider. You had to find out how to upload chunk and create a vector index of your knowledge, and then all other stuff that Copilot Studio does you for out of the box. So these are some of the documentation that you can follow in case you're interested learning more about Copilot Studio. So hopefully the content we covered today made you explore Copilot Studio and Azure OpenAI service. Studio. Best way to do that is via a developer tenant in Microsoft 365. If you have access to MSDN subscription, you can get that developer tenant for free. Earlier, everyone could use to sign up for that, but recently Microsoft has made a restriction where you need to have MSDN subscription to get that developer tenant. As soon as they remove that, you should be able to do that. Like get a dedicated developer tenant where you can use that for as a personal playground, and there you can sign up for a trial license of Copilot Studio. In case you are interested in using Azure OpenAI service, these are the various ways you can get your personal Azure subscription. My personal favorite is getting that via MSDN subscription. You can also sign up for trial, or you can also explore the Azure for student as well. So with that, we come to an end. In case you would like to continue the conversation, the best way to connect with me is via LinkedIn. This is the QR code that you're seeing on the screen. And in the next screen, I have my contact email address as well. With that, thank you very much for joining us today, and let me know if you have any questions in the chat window. And I think there is a comment where the plugins are not rebranded. So I may not be current on that. I just saw some press from Microsoft. So yes, you may be right on that, but a lot of things are getting rebranded as agents, especially with Microsoft 365 Copilot extensions. All right, with that, we come to an end. Thank you. Thanks for your time, and do let me know if you have any questions or comments.
Yes, you also had actually one more question, Prashant, from Michael Siemba. If you can check the chat, please.
Okay, I think I covered that. It was related to the authentication.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us, Prashant, and nice to see you again, and really great session. You shared a lot of information and knowledge within the 50-minute time slot you had. I don't know how you managed, but there was a lot of content within the short time slot. So thank you so much for being here and sharing everything, and hope to see you soon.
Yep, same here. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, and stay safe and healthy, everyone. Bye-bye.